Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football, our final match reaction show for the day. And Manchester United won, West Brom nil, first home win of the season in the Premier League for Manchester United. I just tweeted about it. Actually, wasn't a very good performance. It was actually pretty poor performance from United. Very lucky, in fact, even to win 1-0 because they probably should have lost that game. Actually, not even drawn that game, lost that game, and that just tells you how bad they were in this fixture. But lots to talk about for a game that didn't have much meaning in it and didn't really seem all that important given the context of the day. There's certainly a lot to talk about in this game, so let's get into it. First up, and we're going to talk about the starting lineup. One matter started this game, which I didn't expect that, but I wasn't surprised that he started because it is West Brom at the end of the day. And I mean, it's hard to say because if he's resting players for Istanbul is the bigger game. There's no doubt about it, just because of the context of what that means in the Champions League group. So for him to rest, if he's saying that, fair enough, I want to rest players, then that makes sense. But if he's doing it because he genuinely thinks that Mata is the best option in the right wing, then I think there are issues around that. No Paul Pogba either, which was a surprise. Apparently, he's been injured. But there's a lot of speculation right now going on social media. There's actually dropped and that he wasn't like he's been dropped from the team. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to speculate, but if that is, it's not necessarily a surprise. I think his performances this season have been pretty poor. And then you've got the manager talking from France. Deschamps has been talking all kinds of stuff onto the media. There's obviously a lot of chatter about the move away from the club. So all of that concern, I think it totally makes sense that it doesn't surprise me that it's done. It's a strong, bold move. But we know what happened the last time Paul Pogba was stopped by a manager. A couple of months later, he was gone. So we don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, it was surprising. It was shocking. I didn't expect it to happen, but I don't think it was undeserved for Pogba to be dropped. I don't think he's been good enough this season. To warrant a place, a starting lineup at least. I mean, probably dropped from the bench for whatever reason, but he doesn't merit a place in the starting lineup. Matic started again. I think there was a bit of rotation, which is fine. McTominay has played a lot recently. He played all the internationals over with Scotland. So to start Matic is fine. Starting Fred, I think, makes sense as well. A lot of people will say maybe Donny, but maybe Donny should have started. Maybe Donny will start in Istanbul, so maybe he wants to break him. I don't know. I don't know, but it does hurt me when I see Donny van de Beek on the bench. It does because he's so clearly better than that. But I mean, it's a decision of the manager. Sometimes you just got to take it on board. I know Alex Telles started, which I don't think was a surprise to anyone. I mean, Shaw has been injured. Finally, good to see him on the pitch as well, and obviously good. And it was Lindelof recovered from his injury. It was talked that he probably wasn't going to be fit enough, and it was. I mean, with Lindelof, I think there was one moment in this game, and I'll talk about it. I didn't want to didn't want to get into individual performances right now, but there was a thing that I want to talk about with Lindelof, so we'll get into that a bit later on. But I mean, the whole game really in the first half was very boring. It was just a lot of there was no energy, there was no patterns of play. It was all static. There was a chance that Martial should have scored, and he didn't. And in a day when Erling Haaland scores a hat trick for Dortmund, you're looking, and then on the other side you see, and that's the guy that Solskjaer really wanted. We all know that Solskjaer really wanted Haaland to come to Manchester United. He had made all kinds of plans and did everything that possible that he possibly could to convince Haaland to join, and then he goes to Dortmund, and that's the striker that Solskjaer wanted. And on the other side, you see what Martial is capable of, and he's not. I mean, I'm not saying Martial is a bad striker. I think he's a pretty decent striker. He's just not at the level that can win you a league title. He's not, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think you need to be blunt about it. He's a good backup striker for a team that wants to win the league title. He's not a league title winning striker. Can he be that striker? I think it's about time that. I think this season is critical. I think if he cannot score the goals that are required, I think he's got to get like 25, 30 goals. In all competitions, I think he's got to look at 20, 25 goals this season. He's got to look at that. And if he can't get you those numbers, and this season is pivotal for him, and if he can't do it, then I think we have to admit that it's not going to work out for him. It's not going to get to the level that we all expected from him. And that's sad. In a way, it's sad, but also, I mean, that's just the way it is. But to me, he lacks the composure that top strikers need to have. You need to do better than 1 and 2 conversion rate. You can't go around with a 1 and 2 conversion rate. You gotta 1 and 2. I guess 1 and 2, 1 and 3 is good, but he's not even that level. He's not a 1 and 2, 1 and 3 conversion rate, and particularly for Manchester United, who don't seem to be creating a lot of chances. that is an issue. There was a lot of negativity in the play. That I mean, it was surprising to watch, but then when you put Matic and Fred together, that's kind of what you get. The fullbacks tried, but I mean, wan-Bissaka just doesn't cut it offensively, and Alex Telles, I think, is just a bit rusty. There was a lot of bad play. Second half was not actually not that different. I mean, it should have been a penalty. The first penalty, it should have been a penalty for Norwich. Sorry, for West Brom. They were playing the yellow, so I'm thinking Norwich, but West Brom should have had a penalty in the second half. That was a penalty for me. I think it was one of those where the referee gives it, then you don't really need to overturn it. If the referee hadn't given it, then it may not have been. If the VAR probably would have said, you know what, you don't need to look at it. But I mean, it was a penalty to me. I think he got the man first, and then the ball. I know some people will say it wasn't. Let me know what do you think in the comment section. What do you think, whether it was a penalty or not? For me, it was a penalty, but it wasn't given. The second penalty was also a penalty, uh, based on the current rules. I know it's harsh, but based on what the current rules are, that is a penalty because his hand was up, and it's a stupid thing to look away from the ball. You don't do that, but he did that, and his hand went up, and it's a penalty. And Bruno once again missing a penalty, but once again we are saving him because Sam Johnson was off his line. And I mean, and again, letter of the law, it's absolutely correct. He was quite far off his line, so but very very cool head to take that second. Do we take that penalty and actually get it in? It was very 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 gutsy. That's the word, gutsy, from him to try that penalty a second time the way he took it. But I mean, Bruno didn't have a good game either. Actually, I mean, it probably one of his worst games for Manchester United. I don't think anybody stands out in that performance. Marcus Rashford was poor. I mean, he should have scored that chance that he got when Johnson saved it. He should have scored that goal. Again, he's not. I mean, he's not a striker anyway, and I don't think he plays there anymore. Like he's not a first choice striker anyway. But those are the kind of chances you want to be taking as a player to be able to those are the stats pad kind of goals that you want to get, and he doesn't. That's how you get your numbers up, and he's not able to do those, and that's the issue. That's why he hasn't been able to do that step up as well. Uh, Mata sadly seems past it at this point. I think we have to. I mean, anybody who's watching there has got to admit that now that Mata on the right wing, maybe as a number 10, you could try him out, but he'd probably get overawed in that central area, so you probably wouldn't even want to put him there. But he can't do a job anymore on the right wing. I mean, this is West Brom. They're at best a championship team. That's what they are, and he can't even. If he's going to have bad games at that level, then I don't see the purpose of him being around the squad. I don't think Mata should be anywhere near the starting lineup for these sort of games. Even for these sort of games at home against a championship club, well, essentially a championship club. It's a bit of a. It's sad to watch. It's sad to watch that happen. I think Maguire was pretty bad as well. There were moments when he was. I mean, the thing with Maguire is he's you expect him to be solid, but there are times when he gets, the ball goes to him. He's so slow. Because he's so slow, he's always a bit panicky. When people start running at him, or when he's, because of that fear of being bypassed, he always tries to cover his tracks either by overcommitting at times or by not reading the game. His reading of the game is not at the level that it should be for someone, because he doesn't have the pace. He's got to be better at reading the game, and he's not. And that's where that's where he becomes average, or not a top defender. Because there are lots of top defenders that didn't have pace in the past. There are lots of defenders that were never blessed with pace, but their reading of the game was so good they didn't need to use their pace. With Maguire, he doesn't have the pace, but his reading of the game isn't at the level it should be, and that's what makes it tough. Lindelof, the one thing I noticed was there was a moment when he made a tackle, well, not a tackle actually, he made a block, and the ball hit him, and he kind of stole the ball from the defender. That was great defending, wonderful defending. But then he gets bundled off the ball. Right after that, he actually, the attacker actually comes away with the ball still. So that lack of physicality holds him back. So even though he can make those challenges, he's very good in one-on-one situations. I think he's better. I think overall he's a better defender than Maguire. The only difference is Maguire, when he on the occasions that Maguire does win the ball, he generally doesn't get bundled off. He's physical enough to hold it and to pass it or do whatever he wants with it, which usually it's a pass or a stray or whatever, give it to another player or whatever. With Lindelof, the times when he'll tackle, he'll be very good. He'll make the challenge, he'll do everything, but then he won't come away with the ball. Like he'll be outmatched, and that's where I think the problem is, and that's where Tuanzebe is a better option, because not only does he have the pace, but he also doesn't get bundled off the ball easily. And it's about time I believe that Ollie's trying to be protective of to Anzebi, trying not to make sure that he doesn't get re-injured. But I think it's high time that now we start seeing him more consistently. And I mean that's on that. I mean, really, I mean, there's not much to talk about in terms of the only word I can say is boring and poor. That's what it was. They were lucky. Norwich, West Brom. I keep saying Norwich. I don't know why. West Brom had a really few good chances that they should. That before the penalty that United got, they should have actually been 2-0 up because of their own penalty and the chance that De Gea saved. And that should have been 2-0. And then they had the shot on the post that should have also probably, that gone in. So they should have won this game practically. I can't remember, aside from the penalty and aside from the Rashford and Martial chances, I can't remember any other clear-cut opportunities that United created. I mean, there was a Cavani chance. I mean, there were half chances, but nothing clear-cut. I mean, West Brom probably had 3 or 4 clear-cut chances that they should have scored from. And if they had a better striker or more composure, they probably would have. And yeah, I mean, it was a very average performance. A few takeaways I think that I would say is one. I think Donny Van de Beek should, if the fact that he started in the right wing today, like he came on and he played on the right, tells me that he's looked at as an option there, which is good to see because maybe we'll see him there against Istanbul. Maybe we'll see him there in the next Premier League game. That's an option, and that's good that he's seeing that. The second takeaway is, I mean, Martial has got to buck up, and maybe, I mean, this is the thing. I put it out on a tweet as I said, I hope to see Cavani in the second half, and I don't rate Cavani, and yet I was saying I'm going to see Cavani. But that tells you just exactly how poor Martial and Rashford have been in that goal scoring department. That I mean, it's just to see something different, just to see someone who could probably do it. And Cavani is not that player either, but this is the only option we have, and that's why Marcel and Rashford get away with being so poor is because there's nobody pushing them. Greenwood was doing it for a while, but now he's gone off the boil. And there's literally no competition in that team. James again, is not the answer really. Maybe a stopgap, but not really an answer as well. So there are issues of depth in that forward area. There are lots of issues of depth in that forward area. But I mean, the only thoughts I think about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I don't think you can exempt him from criticism for this game. Yes, he got the win, but I mean, there was talk there that was reading about him being very stubborn and him very sticking to his choices, and it does feel like that. It does feel like there's a bit of stubbornness on his part where he tried something, it worked, but then somehow it's like, no, I want to do this my way, like that. It almost feels like that PSG game was because he was forced into those changes rather than making those changes of his own accord. Same with the Leipzig game. I think he was forced into making changes and he made them. But as soon as he has his first choice players back or the players that he wants for the system back, he goes back to his original system. So he's got to be more adaptable. If not, he's going to be out of a job. And he needs to realize that at this point that he's not in the luxury of experimentations, or he's not in the luxury of being stubborn. He's got to take risks. He's got to adapt. And if he keeps, sticking to the same guns, he'll probably lose a few games and he's going to be gone. Because keep in mind now, if the rumors are true that Paul Pogba is being ostracized, what's going to happen is he's got to make sure that he's winning games, that he's keeping the other players on side. Because once you start losing games and you start losing players, he's going to be out of a job. Paul Pogba, like it or not, has a lot of influence in that dressing room. And if the manager is winning games, nobody's going to bat an eye. They're going to be like, whatever. But once you start losing games, those little bit of ripples can become, something big. So for him, it's critical that he gets it right every single time. Because from now to the other season, there's a lot that can happen. And again, these are just rumors. We don't know what the truth is. Paul Pogba may actually be injured. We don't know. But if the rumors are true, then he's got to be very careful about what he does from here. So, but I think he needs to be more adaptable. I don't think you can keep expecting to start Mata. I think that's a mistake. You can. I mean, there's no obsession. I don't understand the obsession with always wanting to play Maguire and Lindelof, even though we know that they're not the best pairing. And you've got Tuanzebe now who can come in and do the job. To keep persisting with that is obviously another mark against him. And I mean, fair enough. You played Matic because you got to rotate the squad. You play Rashford because Martial. I've got to play this big game. But again, he's got to take some hard decisions, and maybe this game wasn't one where you needed to play Matic and Fred. I think the issue is you got to play Fred, but then if you play Fred, because Fred can only, the issue is you don't want to go with Fred and Donny because Fred cannot do that CDM role, and maybe he doesn't trust Donny to be able to do his defensive duties as well, and that's probably the reason I can see that. So unless you're starting McTominay and Fred, you've got to start Matic with Fred. So I mean, and you probably wanted to give McTominay a rest for this game, so I understand that. But still, I mean, maybe change the system. Maybe the system needs to change. Maybe he needs a better CDM. at the moment, yeah, Matic and McTominay are the only CDMs in that side. So, but I mean, overall, yeah, I mean, there's not much. If I were to give a man of the match, I don't really want to give a man of the match. I don't think anybody deserves it. To be honest, I think it was a very, very bad. I mean, maybe somebody from West Brom could get it, but for Man United, I don't think anybody deserves a man of the match award. But if I were to twist my arm, I'd probably give it to De Gea because of that save that he made, which kept it at 0-0. Because otherwise, if West Brom had scored there, they would have gone on to win that game. United were not coming back in that. So for him to keep it 0-0, just for that one moment of quality in an otherwise pretty poor game, I guess give to him. Maybe some people will give to Bruno because he scored that goal, but I didn't think he played particularly well. I think he gave away a penalty that should have been a penalty. He gave away a lot of passes, and there was this obsession in the end of the second half, which I noticed is that Bruno kept crossing it to Alex Telles to shoot, and Alex Telles was just shooting it over the bar. I don't know what that was all about. They were probably trying some training ground routine, but I mean, yeah, it's just it's weird. And then there was also the other chance where Bruno went for goal, even though he was miles off, and the keeper, even though he was on one side, I mean, he really have to. It have to be a rocket shot to catch him out like that. But the kind of shot that he hit was never going to go in. So it wasn't the best of performances. But I mean, nobody played well in that game. But onwards now to Istanbul. That's the big game now for Manchester United. They've got to look into that and see what they can do there, because it's probably going to be very similar. They're going to be defensively organized. They're going to be compact, and they're going to have to break them down. So we'll see how they deal with that. For West Brom, I mean, it's looking tough. It's looking tough. Survival. I think they're one of the teams that are probably they are probably the team that are guaranteed to go down at this point. Honestly, I mean, even Fulham have a better chance than them. I think at this point, and Fulham don't have much of a chance either. So yeah, but I mean, it should have been much more, much less competitive than it was. It should have been much more easier than it was, and that's the issue for Manchester United right now, is that other teams are winning games comfortably, or they're doing well, and United is grinding out wins against teams like that. It's not a good look. But anyway, 1-0 Manchester United against West Brom, and that concludes our reaction shows for today. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with a few more that we can look at. We'll probably be back for the Liverpool Leicester. We might do the Arsenal Leeds one as well. I'll make a decision on that. We'll make a decision on that a bit later on. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this show, and thank you so much for joining. If you watch all the shows, really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. We really appreciate we appreciate your support, and you'd also get notified about any videos that we have coming up. So be really awesome for you, awesome for us as well. We want to try to get to 120 by the end of the week, so please help us get there by subscribing to the channel as well, and telling all of your people that about this channel as well, so we can get that going. So thank you so much. Have a good evening or morning, whatever time you're watching this, or good night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.